All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up on today's show, I can't wait for this game on Sunday. A Week 17 preview as the Eagles travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills for what is going to be a great playoff tune-up game for both Philadelphia and Buffalo in this one. The stage is set at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, New York. Kickoff slated for 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. The over-under for this game at 43.5. Philadelphia underdogs, and we know that we love that role. The Bills, 2.5-point favorites in this game in what could be a Super Bowl 60 preview. Programming reminder, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us for our Eagles-Bills watch party as we go live for every single Eagles game right here on the channel. But if you want informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking Eagles coverage, which comes your way every single day here on YouTube, I'm your go-to host. This is your go-to channel. Lock us in and hit that sub button. My initial thoughts on this football game, as I just noted, this could be a Super Bowl preview for a game that could take place in Super Bowl 60 at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California in February. When we embarked on the 2025 season, a lot of people looked at Philadelphia, Buffalo as teams that could represent the NFC and the AFC in Super Bowl 60. Weather, as it always is this time of year in Buffalo, New York, could play a major role in determining how this game is played and the complexion of it. I think this is going to be a great challenge for both the Eagles and the Bills as a game that can really prepare them for the playoff bracket in the NFC and in the AFC. This Eagles defense, in my opinion, needs a test like this to get fine-tuned for the postseason because the last two games they've gone up against Marcus Mariota and Josh Johnson with the Commanders, and the week before that, Kenny Pickett. And will we, for this Philadelphia Eagles offense, under Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo, see continued offensive improvement? This Bills defense isn't the elite defense that they've had in prior years under Sean McDermott, but it's a team, top to bottom, that is looked at as one of the top teams in the National Football League. Going to point number 2, in talking about the weather here, let's take a look at the forecast. Now, keep in mind, I'm recording this on Tuesday, December 23rd. A lot can change over the next couple of days as far as the weather in Buffalo because it can change by the minute, by the hour. So as of right now, this is the forecast. During the day, and again, kickoff set for that late afternoon slot, Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady going to be on the call on Fox, by the way, around 40 degrees, a mix of rain and freezing rain early, changing to all rain in the afternoon, a high around 40 degrees. But then you look at the wind, 10 to 20 miles per hour, and the chance of precipitation, 70%. But because this game is taking place in that late afternoon slot, it's going to be bordering between daytime and nighttime. And so once the sun goes down, it's going to get chilly. Nighttime, 20 degrees, rain and snow in the evening, transitioning to snow showers late, becoming windy, low around 20 degrees. Winds west at 20 to 30 miles per hour, and the chance of snow 60%, accumulating 1 to 3 inches. But as Jalen Hurts has famously said, rain, sleet, or snow, the Eagles are trained to go. And I love that quote because the Eagles pride themselves on playing bully ball, being a physical team, and playing any opponent, anywhere, at any time. Ladies and gentlemen, and we know this, during this unbelievable 5-year stretch for the Birds in which they've gone to the playoffs 5 straight years, and this run that this Eagles organization has been on really since the turn of the century in 2000. Since then, they've been one of the most successful teams in the game. They pride themselves on being a physical football team. They've won 2 Super Bowls since 2017. But the current iteration of this Eagles team under Nick Sirianni, and he pounds this into the Eagles mentality, they're physical at the line of scrimmage, along the offensive line and the defensive line. They play in Philadelphia. So like Buffalo, they deal with inclement weather on a regular basis. They're no stranger to this, especially this year. You think about some of the bad weather games that they played in. It was cold in Green Bay, winds between 20 and 30 miles per hour. Against Detroit, it was cold. Winds were howling at Lincoln Financial Field. Against the Raiders, it was even cold. Last year in the divisional round against the Los Angeles Rams, a lot of players on this team in 2025 were on that team in 2024 when the snow quickly accumulated in that game against Los Angeles and it didn't bother Philadelphia on either side of the ball. Now, I do want to turn back the clocks to the last meeting between the Eagles and the Bills, Josh Allen against Jalen Hurts. It was an epic game that we saw in Week 12 in 2023, and this was before that Eagles collapse at the end of the year when they lost 6 of their last 7 games, and this was kind of, in a way, the last great moment for the Eagles in that 2023 season, which ended up being a disaster with that Super Bowl hangover. And that game was so entertaining, going back and forth. Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen were phenomenal in that ball game. Philadelphia winning at the link in the Kelly Green uniforms in overtime, 37-34. Jalen Hurts had 5 total touchdowns in the game, 200 passing yards, 65 rushing yards. Josh Allen was also superb, 339 passing yards, 81 yards on the ground. He had 4 touchdowns. So Hurts and Allen combining for 9 touchdowns in the game. And the Eagles scored in the fourth quarter to come back and then win that game in overtime, 17 points in the fourth frame. So with that, I'm interested to see where Eagles fans are at, and we have some Buffalo Bills fans watching as well. Thank you so much for hanging out here on the show. I always love when the opposition tunes into our previews and they give us a bunch of kind comments because I want this show to be informative for everybody. So let your voices be heard. Get your predictions in. Who you got? PHI for the Eagles, BUF for Buffalo. Sound off in the comment section right now. When I scout the Bills, Josh Allen is an alien. And what I mean by that, obviously he's a human being, but he might be the best overall player in football after Myles Garrett. And certainly right now, I think he's playing like the best quarterback in the National Football League. He is tall with the bazooka for an arm. He's athletic. He's big. He's hard to bring down. He can carve you up at all 3 levels in completing passes from sideline to sideline as well. And then he can make some unbelievable plays with his legs. In the backfield, the Bills made it a priority this past offseason to pay James Cook, one of the best running backs in football, playing at a top 5 clip statistically and when you watch the tape. He's got a good combination of being a home run threat with really good contact balance. He can also catch the ball out of the backfield. What's interesting about this Bills team, they are so Josh Allen reliant, which is my 5th point here. If they were without him, they might be one of the worst teams in football because that defense is lackluster, and Josh Allen does so much to make this Bills team what they are, and that is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. But their wide receiver talent, pretty average. Reminds me a lot of what Donovan McNabb had to deal with in the early 2000s outside of the one full season with Terrell Owens when he was throwing to the likes of James Thrash and Todd Pinkston as his top 2 wide receivers. Josh Allen carries his football team. And for Sean McDermott being a defensive coach, that being his specialty and his area of study, all things considered, this defense is a disappointment, and in my opinion, the defense is what is going to hold back Buffalo from winning a Super Bowl championship. Look at the Bills' schedule so far. They got off to a really good start. Then they started to struggle a little bit going into the bye week, but now, alongside Philadelphia, teams like the Texans and the Niners, one of the hottest teams in football. So they beat the Ravens in week 1, 41-40, pound the Jets 30-10 in week 2, beat the Dolphins 31-21 at home, beat the Saints 31-19. That game was kind of close for a half. Then they lost at home to the New England Patriots. Monster win for Mike Vrabel and Drake May at that time. Lose to the Falcons 24-14 going into the bye week. Buffalo comes out of the bye. They shellacked the Panthers 40-9, beat the Chiefs 28-21 when the Chiefs still had a lot to play for and they were healthier. Lost to the Dolphins, though, 30-13. Josh Allen turned it over, and the Bills were a little bit sloppy. Beat the Buccaneers 44-32. The Bucs have been bad for about 2 months now. Lost to the Texans on Thursday Night Football as that defense for Houston exposed them. Beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, though, good rebound at 26-27. Beat the Bengals in the snow 39-34. Joe Burrow turned it over like 2 times in 2 minutes at the end of that game. Came back from a couple of scores down to beat the Patriots on the road. Epic win for Buffalo. One of the best victories of the season this year for any team. And then this past week, held on to beat the Browns 23-20, although they gave up a bunch of yards on the ground. And we'll talk more about that coming up. As far as some Eagles injury news here, Looks like Lane Johnson, all-pro offensive tackle, Jalen Carter, one of the top interior defensive linemen, are going to play in this game. Jalen Carter, by the way, this morning, being named to the Pro Bowl. Lane Johnson missed the last 5 games with that Liz Frank injury that he suffered first in that road game against the Green Bay Packers. And then he fought through it, came back to play against the Lions, hurt it again. We haven't seen him since. And then for Jalen Carter, he's really been injured since the start of training camp. Missed the first couple of practices with a shoulder injury. He admitted after that Bears loss that his shoulder has been giving him problems all year long. And then it turned out he got procedures on both of his shoulders. And he's one of the more impactful interior defensive linemen in football. For Lane Johnson, this Eagles team on offense, how they perform, the team, how they win and lose games, so much different with him on the field compared to when he's off the field. He's ended up being one of the best draft picks in the history of this organization, one of the best players in the history of this Eagles franchise. With him, since he was drafted in 2013, the Eagles have an all-time record of 110-57-1. Without him, they are 17-26. This season, still playing at a very high level, no hits given up, 0 sacks allowed on quarterback Jalen Hurts. As far as Nakobe Dean, we saw him get hurt this past weekend against the Washington Commanders, suffered that hamstring injury. Jordan Davis said to Devin Caney of WIP after the game, it's not that serious. Vic Fangio echoed that today and saying, it's not that serious. We're probably not done seeing him this year. Since he's been inserted as a starting linebacker alongside Zach Bond, he's played at a Pro Bowl level. As a blitzer, he's been dynamic. As a coverage guy, he's been fantastic. And as always, really good instincts against the run. And all of this brings me to this right here. Big topic of conversation in the city of Philadelphia this week. Should Nick Sirianni play Lane Johnson and play Jalen Carter alongside all of the other Eagles starters? Here are my thoughts. I think the Eagles should go for the 2 seed as long as it's there for the taking. They were the 2 seed last year, ended up hosting the NFC Championship game. The Eagles have not lost a home playoff game since 2019 when Carson Wentz got knocked out by Jadeveon Clowney against the Seahawks. And Nick Sirianni said this on WIP on Tuesday morning. This is a really important week for us, practice-wise, game-wise, to go and get better. Really important week for us to improve as a football team. So it looks as though the Eagles are going to play the starters in this game, and I agree with that. And there's still an opportunity for Philadelphia to get the number 2 seed in the NFC. Let's break it down here, and we'll slice this up for a YouTube short. Philadelphia Eagles right now clinched a playoff spot. They won the NFC East. Here's how the Eagles can get the number 2 seed in the NFC because they can no longer get the number 1 seed and home field advantage in the conference. Philadelphia needs to win the rest of their games. On the road against Buffalo, then Week 18 at the Link against Washington. They also need the Bears to lose twice on the road against the Niners and at home against Detroit, or Seattle has to lose twice at Carolina and at San Francisco in the finale of the 2025 campaign, or the 49ers need to lose to Chicago and the Rams need to lose once at Atlanta and home against Arizona. That's how the Eagles can get the number 2 seed in the NFC. We got to some Eagles injury news. Let's get to some Bills injury news here. Shaq Thompson dealing with a neck issue. Jordan Poyer, hamstring. Matt Prater, quad. Jordan Phillips, ankle. Now coming up next here on the show, I'm going to give you my keys to the game, top matchups to watch, what the Eagles must do to be victorious against this quality Bills team. But first, it's the holiday season. Christmas is coming up on Thursday. And a lot of you might be like me. You procrastinate a little bit, especially with your holiday shopping, but wait no longer. Fanatics is running a huge sale, and you can get up to 60% off when you use the code ELF using our link down below. It's chatsports.com/EaglesGear. Chatsports.com/EaglesGear. You can get up to 60% off using the code ELF, but you have to use our link in order for that discount to apply. We're talking jerseys, shirts, crew necks, hoodies, that and a whole lot more. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now, to the back half of our preview. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Senior. Thanks for hanging out here with me. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to give you my keys to the game. Top matchups to watch between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. what the Eagles must do to win, and of course, I'm going to give you my prediction as well. As is always the case this time of year, end of December in Buffalo, weather going to play a role in this football game potentially. And as of right now, during the daytime, and keep in mind the kickoff is set for 4:25 p.m. Eastern, going to be hovering around 40 degrees, but a mix of rain and freezing rain early. Wind is also going to play a role in this game too, so passing could be affected. As this game transitions from daytime to nighttime, temperature's going to drop, and it's going to drop precipitously. When that sun goes down, temperatures could be between 20 and 30 degrees. That rain could turn into snow, and the snow could accumulate nighttime 1, 2, 3 inches. But as Jalen Hurts always likes to say, rain, sleet, or snow, the Eagles are trained to go. As we always like to do with our previews, we like to set the table, set the foundation, and take a look at how both these teams fare on both sides of the football. We'll get to that here in a moment, but I do want to remind people this right here. The Eagles can no longer get the number 1 seed and home field advantage in the NFC because of the Niners beating the Colts on Monday Night Football in Week 16, but Philadelphia can still get that number 2 seed in the conference, and that's what they had last year, and they still hosted the NFC Championship game. In order for that to happen, the Eagles need to win out against Buffalo and Washington. They need the Bears to lose twice, at San Francisco, home against Detroit, or Seattle needs to lose twice in their last 2 games, on the road against Carolina, on the road against the Niners, and the Niners need to lose to Chicago, and the Rams have to lose once, either on the road against Atlanta or at home against Arizona. Either way, Eagles sitting pretty right now, still a lot left to accomplish, and I agree with Nick Sirianni. I think the starters need to play in this game against Buffalo. Let's take a look at how the Bills stack up. I told you it was coming on offense. They're a really, really good team and very explosive. What's fascinating about this is that their wide receiver talent, they have a bunch of 2s, 3s, and 4s. But because Josh Allen is so good, look at where they rank on offense. And Joe Brady's done a hell of a job since taking over for Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator, calling the offense, but I also like how much more balanced Buffalo has been with Joe Brady calling the offense. They're 4th in points per game at 28.9, 4th in yards per game at 373.1, 6th in yards per play with 6 a pop, 4th on third downs, number 7 in the red zone. On defense, this is supposed to be Sean McDermott's specialty. They're 15th in points per game at 22.9, so middle of the pack, 11th in yards per game, 20th in yards per play. Philadelphia should be able to generate some chunk plays and explosives. 27th on third downs, 19th in the red area. You flip the page to the Eagles here. Better offensive performances over the last couple of weeks. They've increased their points per game output to 23.3. That's good for 16th in the league. 22nd in yards per game, still just okay. 17th in yards per play, average. 24th on third downs, but in the red zone, they are scoring touchdowns when they get inside the red area nearly 72% of the time. On defense, Vic Fangio's unit giving up the 3rd least amount of points per game at 19.3. They're 12th in yards per game surrendered, 8th in yards per play, 18th on third downs. But the big one here, number 4 in the red zone, forcing a lot of field goals when the opposition gets inside the 20. With that, my keys to the game, top matchups to watch between the Eagles and the Bills. I can't wait for this matchup to see how this Eagles defense fares against Josh Allen. He's playing like the best quarterback in football right now. I like to call him an alien with his size, his arm, but his ability to carve you up and hurt you with his feet. And defending him is an absolute chore. Has an opportunity to win his 2nd straight MVP award. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes. With 2 games left, he's already thrown for more than 3,400 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, and he's run for 552 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns on the ground. When the Bills are in short yardage situations, you will see Buffalo run the tush-push, even though Sean McDermott voted to banish it this offseason. The keys to defending Josh Allen, this is so important. Philadelphia has to have disciplined pass rush lanes because Allen can hurt you out of structure. Quarterback containment, keeping him inside the pocket, is going to be paramount. And then lastly, finishing plays to get Josh Allen on the ground. He's 6'6", Sometimes you think that you might have him bottled up, and then he's able to wrestle free, escape, and make a play downfield, whether it's a bomb 40 yards downfield or is able to pick up a first down with his feet. Make sure that when you get to Josh Allen, you get him on the ground. Now, the Eagles have had success the last 2 years against mobile quarterbacks. You think about how Philadelphia fared last year against Lamar Jackson. Of course, he's going to get his from time to time. Philadelphia won the game. Their defense was really good. In the Super Bowl, Philadelphia did not blitz once, and they got to Patrick Mahomes all night. He's very mobile, like Josh Allen. They're going to have to play like that against the Bills on Sunday. Key to the game number 2, I need to see this Eagles offense continue with their progress. The last 3 games, we have seen a lot of encouraging signs from the offensive unit. Nick Sirianni has taken on more of a role with this offense, and we have seen some major changes. And some of the offensive things that I like, Jalen Hurts has been under center. That has gotten the play-action pass game going. It has tied his drop back to timing routes. It's also led to success for the run game, whether it be Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby. Finding success in empty. Philadelphia really diced up Washington when Hurts was in the shotgun in empty formations. They have forced the opposition to spread out and defend them from sideline to sideline. What that also does, teams aren't able to stack the box. So that's when you can call a quarterback draw, and Hurts can run it up the middle to great levels of success. I like how the Eagles are calling more crossing routes. Makes more sense. They're running a lot more pre-snap motion. They've kind of gone away from the outside zone runs that weren't working. They're running more inside zone runs. It helps this Eagles team live up to their physicality and wanting to play bully ball. That's their brand. And most importantly, in the last 2 games, after Jalen Hurts turned it over 5 times against the Chargers, he's been smart, efficient, playing clean ball, 5 touchdowns, no picks in the last 2 ball games. And speaking to point number 3 here, look at this route chart for A.J. Brown against Washington. We have been asking for this, clamoring for this all season long, starting with that Chargers game. A.J.'s route charts starting to look a lot like this. He's lined up outside on the right, outside on the left, in the slot on the right, slot to the left. He's running crossers. He's running out routes. They are doing things to maximize the special skill set of A.J. Brown, and he could become the first player in Eagles franchise history to have 4 1,000-yard seasons. He's closing in on that, and he can do it 4 times in a row, which has never been done before. Can the Eagles' run game get going? Philadelphia should be able to run the football successfully against this Buffalo team. We showed you the numbers a little bit earlier about how the Bills have been faring on offense. Well, they're missing a key cog potentially in this game and a couple of key players in this game, which could hurt their run defense. And this Eagles rushing offense has started to click of late. And really, it's taken place over the last 3 games. Saquon Barkley against the Chargers in primetime, 20 carries, 122 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, and a touchdown. He had that long touchdown of 50+. Against the Raiders, 22 carries for 78 yards, only 3.5 yards per carry, but the Eagles ran it nearly 40 times. Tank Bigsby had a lot of success, and as a team, Philadelphia ran for over $1, and Saquon Barkley found the paint. Then against the Commanders, Saquon with that angry run late in the game. Vintage 2024 Saquon, 21 totes for $132, 6.3 yards per carry, and 1 rushing touchdown. In 6 of the last Eagles' 8 games, they have tapped into what made them a great football team last year. That's running the football efficiently and successfully. Philadelphia in 6 of the last 8 games have run as a team for more than 100 yards, and that has been huge. Without Shaq Thompson last week, the Browns ran for 160 rushing yards. They averaged 5 yards per carry. And this weather, sleet, snow, cold, windy, favors running the rock. Key to the game number 4. Jake Elliott, get your shit together, for lack of a better term. Nick Sirianni said on Monday, we're rolling with Jake Elliott. They're not even bringing in kicking competition. He better get it right for the postseason. Now, in his postseason career, he's been money. He's been clutch. He's like 26 of 27 in his playoff career. This season, though, Jake Elliott once again struggling. A career low with his field goal percentage at 70.8%. He's only 17 to 24 on kicks of 40-plus yards. Hasn't been the same old reliable Jake the Make Elliott. He's been Jake Missy Elliott, 6 of 9 from 40-plus. And then from 50 or more yards, 4 of 8. Over his last 2 seasons on kicks of 50 or more yards. In the year of the kicker, in a time where kickers are blasting kicks 50 to 60 yards and making them with ease, hitting the back net, Jake Elliott on distance kicks of 50 or more yards is 5 of 15. This is a game that could be decided on the margins, by one score. It could be altered by an extra point or a field goal because I think these two teams match up very well against one another. And the difference could be a Jake Elliott miss or a Jake Elliott make. Be Jake the Make. Don't be Missy Elliott. Lastly, these Eagles linebackers going to be tested. Cooper DeJean being named to his first Pro Bowl on Tuesday, going to be tested. The Bills have 2 really excellent tight ends, and those 2 tight ends can really tax the defense. Now, the Bills' top wide receiver is Khalil Shakir. I wouldn't say that he puts a lot of fear into the defense, but he's a good player. Smaller, but shifty. And he has 66 catches for 684 yards and 4 touchdowns. Definitely the number 1 target for Josh Allen in the pass game. But the Bills also have 2 really good tight ends who I like a lot. Dalton Kincaid, loved him coming out of Utah. 36 grabs for 523 and 5 touchdowns. He's 6'4", 240, and he's more in the mold of like a Zach Ertz, where he's not overly physical, but he's a productive pass catcher. Dawson Knox, on the other hand, more of that physical tight end who's a better blocker, and he has a size advantage. 6'4", 254, but he too gets involved. 29 grabs for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns. So with that, the stage is set, baby. Let's go. Eagles-Bills. No plastic table is safe outside of Highmark Stadium. Who you got in this football game? Type PHI for the Eagles, BUF for Buffalo. I think this game is close. I think it comes down to the wire. And how about this for a storyline? Jake Elliott redeems himself, goes perfect on the day, and hits a couple of big kicks when the pressure is on. Philadelphia wins 27-25. I'm believing in this football team. I think what they're doing offensively is working. They have found a level of confidence, and this defense is really good as well.